this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a follow-up video. This is on It's a Small World, and these are the two final columns that you had requested videos for, instructions on. So there are 7 columns altogether. We've done number 1, number 2, number 5, 6, and 7. This video will have columns number 3 and 4, and I was able to do some prep work that I did. I was able to get both of them in to one video, which I'm pleased about. You'll see at the beginning of the video I wasn't sure if I'd be able to squeeze them in, but I think it worked out beautifully. So I hope this is helpful for you and it will inspire you to create some columns like this for your own albums. Let's get to my workspace and get started. Alright, so this is my workspace for today, and what I'm going to be doing in this video is recreating these two borders, which you haven't seen yet. Well, you've seen them, but you haven't seen a video on how to create these two. So I'm hoping that because I pre-cut some pieces that this will go a lot faster, and maybe I can get both of them assembled in one video for you. So let's get started, and we're going to start with this one right here on this side. So let me go ahead and move this a little bit out of the way so that it's, I don't know how to move it out of the way without totally removing it, but I'll bring it back in a minute. Okay, so these are the pieces for this first one. I'm going to use repositionable adhesive. I'm going to use my precision point scissors. There is still some cutting to be done. Excuse me. And we're going to start with this very bottom piece. And it's this one right here with the 2 arches. Okay. So let me just tell you, you're going to need white shimmer and gold shimmer paper, and then I've used this. This is a gold foil piece from the geometric bedazzled pack that came out a while back, and so that's what I used for this one. It's white with gold kind of Celtic work. Okay, so this piece right here, as you can tell, is 2 inches by 2 1/4 inches, and it will fit right here. It's this strip is 2 1/2 inches wide. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and stick this piece down to my desktop so that it's stable and won't be moving around on us. There, that'll work. Okay. Now, this base piece we're going to go ahead and put down also, and it just fits centered right between the edges, so you end up with about 1/8 of an inch, not quite 1/8 of an inch on either side of it, but it's flush to the bottom, so it goes all the way to the bottom of the edge and then has a border on either side. Okay. This piece, we're going to grab our trimmer and we're going to cut this piece in half. This piece measures 2 1/4, and it is 1 3/4 inches high. So that's what I'm starting with. So I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces that are 1 1/8 wide and still 2 3/4 inches high. So 1 1/8 and 1 1/8, and then I'm just going to cut a little bit off of each edge, so you can see that these have about 1/4 of an inch in between each one, maybe more like 1/8 of an inch on the outside. So 1/8 of an inch on the outside, 1/4 of an inch in the middle. I'm going to take this gold paper and I'm going to put it halfway between the right hand cutting line on my mat and the outer edge. basically that ends up being 3/16 of an inch. So that means that this piece will measure 1/16 shy of 1 inch. I know that's tedious, and I'm sorry, but we are dealing with a lot of really small pieces with these, and it's part of the reason why I'm not a paper piecer by choice. I only do this for special occasions, and you guys are special, so I'm going to redo this. I'm going to start at about 1/2 an inch from the right hand side, and I'm going to start cutting, and I'm just going to cut an arc round. I'm going to round this end essentially, and if it's easier for you, you can do some measuring. See, that didn't turn out super well. I'm going to just try to even it out and make it a little bit better. There. So these are a little pointier than the others. But I just rounded the edge, so these are a little bit more rounded. They're not as rounded as my sample, but they will do. So I'm going to go ahead and add these on here. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch on the outside. And about 1/8 of an inch between them. Okay, so they just sort of look like tunnels. Alright, so there's the first block. The second block is going to be a piece that is 2 1/4 wide. All of these pieces will end up being 2 1/4 wide because that will allow you the extra border on the outside. Okay, so 2 1/4 wide and 3 inches high. That's the base of this block. So I'm going to go ahead and add this piece to my column, and I'm just leaving a breadth of space between the two so that you can see that there's a separate block, but it's not really a measurable space. It's not even 1/16 of an inch, so it's just enough to be able to see that there is room there. Okay. Then we're going to take this next piece, which is the gold foil piece, and you can see that this one measures 2 1/4 this way and 2 1/2 tall. Okay, 2 1/4 by 2 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on here. It's going to be flush on either side of the shimmer paper, but it's going to have about 1/4 of an inch on top and 1/4 of an inch on the bottom of the shimmer paper. It's showing. Okay, just like that. Now, what goes on top of that are some triangles, and the triangles are going to be made by taking a piece of white shimmer paper that is 2 1/2 by 1 1/4. So 2 1/2 wide by 1 1/4. We're going to cut this in half. Essentially, we're making two squares that are 1 1/4 square. 1 1/4 inches squared, like that. Then we're going to take each of those and we're going to stack them. And we're going to put alternating corners on our cutting line, just like so. Hold it really carefully because it's going to want to move. We're going to cut really slowly so our paper doesn't shift, so that we have 4 equal triangles. Okay, so there are our 4 equal triangles. Now these we're going to use some foam squares on. You can use 2 little ones, or you can use one of these, not the biggest, but the next step down. They actually are perfect because then you don't have to worry about the points at all. You just stick the foam square right there in the corner just like that, and you are good to go. Okay, so I'm going to do, you want them all to face this direction. And because your shimmer paper is double-sided, it doesn't really matter how or which side you put these on, as long as that foam square is in the corner. If you're worried about it though, you know, you can manipulate it so that you can make sure. But they all are going to be facing that way. Okay, so we're going to take the tabs off and then carefully place these. They're going to have a border around the edge, so don't put them right on the edge of the gold. There's a small space there. Which you can kind of see. Measurements on these are a little bit wonky from what my original is, and I'm sorry about that, but okay. Then this piece goes right on the top. And then this piece goes just below it. So there is a little bit of overlap. You want to keep your points out here from going outside your box. So just like that. All right, now we're going to do the next box, which is another piece of white shimmer paper that is 2 inches high by 2 1/4 wide. And again, placing it just a little bit higher than the block before it so that you have that line in between. Then I have these pieces of gold shimmer that are just 1/8 of an inch wide. So if you don't know how to cut 1/8 of an inch on your CM trimmer, it's the right side cutting line is 1/8 of an inch from your left side cutting line. So when your blade comes down, it comes down on the left cutting line. 1/8 of an inch over is just that, the dotted line that's the cutting line next to it on the mat. Okay, so we're going to take these and do a little bit of trimming, and I led you astray. We need to lift this piece up and not have it adhere just yet, because we're going to need to do some adhering. So I'm just going to put adhesive all the way down this piece, and I'm going to place it going from the upper corner to the lower corner, and I'm just going to snip it off anywhere close by. I'm going to go from the lower corner to the upper corner, again snipping it off anywhere close by. Then we're going to go from the bottom to the top in the center, and then I'm going to need a little bit more to do the next piece, and then we're going to trim this. So we're going to go across the middle here, and they just all overlap each other in the middle. Okay, now we're going to take our precision cut scissors, flip it over, and just go ahead and trim off all of those little bits that overlap your white. So now that block is done, and you can put that back on. Just like so. Okay. Let me clean off my scissors real quick. Okay, the block that is on top is one that I can't really give you a pattern for, unfortunately. So it is 3 inches high by 2 1/4 wide. Okay, you're going to find the center of that block. I'm just going to center it here like so. Okay, there's the middle, and here's the middle. I'm going to move it in about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to move it over this way and measure 1/2 inch in on this side. Move it this way on my grid so I can measure 1/2 inch in on this side. And then I'm going to mark it here at 1 inch up on the right and the left side. So does that make sense? So I marked it in the center at the top, the center at the bottom, 1/2 inch in on the right and left bottom edge, and 1 inch up on either side on the right and the left here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take our gold paper and our white paper, gold shimmer and white shimmer, cut to the same size. Okay, so again, that's 3 inches by 2 1/4. We're going to layer the gold one underneath the white since we marked the white one. We're going to cut them together. Okay, if you need to, use some repositionable adhesive and adhere them together so that they don't slip apart. Okay, I'm going to just do that just so you can see. You can peel them apart later and they'll be less apt to slip around on you. Start at that 1/2 inch mark at the bottom. We're making sort of an egg shape like this. Okay? So we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to have it go wide to that outside 1 inch mark, and then we're going to gradually move it in so that it reaches a point at that center mark. Okay? Now, if you want it to be exactly the same on the other side, and it would be great if it was, we can fold this in half and then use what we've already cut as our pattern. So start down here and just follow that same shape carefully around. Or you can freehand cut it. It really isn't critical which way you do it. Okay, so there's our shape. That's our basic shape for what we're going to be using. Okay, so this shape is what I'm going to put down on top on my white base, and we're going to center this on top right here. Leave just a little bit of space in between like we have with the other blocks. Okay, stick that down right there like that. Now you're going to cut a star pattern in your egg shape. Okay, and this is totally free-handed. I did not draw this in. So just take your shape. I'm taking off my sticky that I put on there to adhere it together. Okay, this shape is going to fit inside of the white shape no matter what you cut out of this. So you can cut your own design however you want to do it, but try to leave this point intact and leave some sort of other point that connects to an edge. How's that for very general directions? I'm just going to kind of start from a corner or a side and make some swoopy cuts. I'm going to start from the center where that fold was, make another swoopy cut out to that outside edge. Again, start from the top center point, make another kind of swoopy cut. I call them swoopy cuts because I don't know what else to call them. Try to make it about level with the other side if you're making a star like I am. And then make that meet, the swoopy cut meet in the center like that. Okay? Now we're going to take this, we're going to add some adhesive. Make sure you get those points that we just worked hard on. Okay, and I'm going to place it in the center here and make that point at the top meet, and it will fit right inside just like that. Okay, now I just realized that I actually popped this up in the original, so if you want to pop it up you can. I'm going to show you how to do that here. Give me just a second. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to take this off my workspace so it's not attached anymore. I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut around it. I'm going to cut all this extra cardstock off. So I'm going to just go straight in on the side to where the egg shape begins, and then we're going to just cut all the way up. Just cut right around it. Be real careful that you don't cut into the white shimmer paper. And if you don't want to pop this up, you don't have to. You certainly can leave it flush with your cardstock base. I think it adds dimension when you pop things up, so I'm going to lift the shimmer paper off and add some foam squares to this. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to come back in here with our multi-purpose tool and separate that and add some foam squares. So I'm going to put a big foam square on either side. In the wide part, we're going to do some smaller ones a little closer to the bottom on either side, and the itty bitty tiny ones at the top. So we're just about done with this one, and I'll show you again the original. You just stick this right back down on top like that so that it's lifted up. Okay. All right, so there is column number, this is column number 3. And you can see that I built a gem tower above it. And I used 2 of the big gems and 2 of the 18-inch or 1/8 of an inch size gems. So there's 5 total, and they just build kind of a little spire on top. All right. So it looks like my lines on this one were a little bit more narrow. You could make yours just a tiny bit more narrow if you want. But that's basically how that comes together. Okay, so let's work on tower number 4. So this is, again, what tower number 4 looks like. And let me bring in my pre-cut stuff so that we can... I don't know why I'm rubbing that off, because I'm gonna just stick something else down. But that's okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna scoot these things off here real quick. Just a little. We're gonna add a little bit of repositionable adhesive. Stick that down to the mat. Okay, so this lower piece right here, which is kind of an egg shape again, this piece is made with a 4-inch piece of gold on the bottom, 4 by 2 1/4, and then the piece that goes inside is slightly smaller. The measurements I'm going to give you or work with today are not exactly the same as this one. And I apologize, but I ended up cutting it just a little bit more narrow. But either way, the directions I'm going to give you are the same. Okay, so this piece that I'm going to work with here is 2 inches across and 4 inches high. And what I'm going to do is with each of these, I'm going to start with the gold piece. And the reason is because we're going to cut, or the gold foil piece. The reason is because we're going to cut the gold shimmer piece to be a frame for this piece. So however you cut this piece, you can't cut the gold wrong if you cut it afterwards. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm folding this in half so that I get a uniform shape. It'll be the same on each side. I want to find the center just to give myself some guidance. So I'm going to put a little mark at the 2-inch mark in the center, a little mark at the 1-inch and the 3-inch mark. And that's just for my own visual confirmation. Okay, so this, I want to be out here to this edge. I want to be to this point. If you want, you could draw a line, since this is the back side, and you just want kind of an oval arch. And it'd be great if it was even on the same, on all 4 sides. So let's try it this way. I'm going to cut this top portion to there, and then I'm going to fold this. This is starting to feel like one of Sachi's origami projects. Love you, Sachi. So let's see. I'm going to fold this in 4ths so that I can follow that same line and cut this uniformly. So the arch on the top of each side is the same as the arch on the bottom. Wow, that worked better than I expected. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and adhere this to the gold shimmer paper. And just going ahead and centering it as best I can. Okay, then what I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut just a little bit outside of it all the way around. This does take a little bit of time. It takes a little bit more steady hand. And maybe there's an easier way. Maybe we could fold it just like we folded the inside piece. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to do mine this way. And I think it will work out fine. But if you don't trust your hands, then go ahead and fold yours in 4 and fold it in 4 before you open up the gold foil piece, and use it as a template so that you can cut outside of that line. All right, so now this piece is going to be adhered to the base of our column. And you can see right away that this is narrower than this one. So maybe just add 1/8 of an inch to your measurements, and it'll be wider. But it'll work for now. Okay. Now the next portion, this triangular portion right here, we're going to use a 2-inch high by 2 1/4 wide piece of white. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the column. Okay, so just a little ways above that top of our egg that we just made. Just center it. Stick it down. Okay, we're going to make these 2 triangles here. And the best way I know to make triangles is just to go ahead and use your trimmer. This piece of gold is the same size as the white shimmer. So 2 inches high by 2 1/2 inches wide. 2 1/4 inches wide. 2 inches high by 2 1/4 inches wide. And I'm just doing corner to corner. And then I'm going to keep those edges together and turn it. I suppose you probably could put them together alternately like this, but for me, sometimes it just works better if I just do like so. And then cut from corner to corner again. All right, but this time we only need the top and the bottom triangle. So these 2 can be used for something else, or actually, I think what I did was I took these 2 side triangles and I used them in the middle. That is what I did. Okay, so we're going to take the top and the bottom and set them aside. And we're going to use these 2 from the side and glue them to the top and the bottom. I know that's probably a little confusing. I know, I'm sorry about that. But these are actually put on with foam squares. Don't put your foam squares right in the corner though. Just sort of center them like that. You could even probably put one of the bigger squares right in the middle and you'd be set. And you're just going to center this right along the edge, so flush with the bottom, but centered between the 2 sides. You're going to end up with about 1/8 of an inch on either side of these points. And okay. Okay, now we're going to add this one to the top edge. The points actually do overlap just a smidgen, but that's okay. Let them overlap and just go ahead and put that in there. Okay. All right. Now the next part is another 2 by 2 1/2 wide inch, or 2 by 2 1/4. I'm saying it wrong, guys. I'm so sorry. 2 1/4 wide by 2 inches high section. And we'll just build this one out here real quick. Okay, so then you're going to take, I have one that is the exact same size, so 2 1/4 wide by 2 inches high. I'm going to take the 2 inches high piece and I'm going to make some stripes. And we're going to make 3 1/2-inch strips, so 2 inches by 1/2 inch. I need 3 pieces that are 2 inches by 1/2 inch wide of the gold shimmer. Okay. That leaves you with about 3/4 of an inch by 2 inches of gold shimmer, but you can save that for another day or use it later when we make the flag that goes on the top. So just sort of set it to the side, don't throw it away. All right, now these are going to go down flush on your piece. You're going to take this piece and you're going to center it so that you can have a line that shows you right where the middle is. Basically that means you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch hanging off into the next measure over, and this line goes right down the middle, and that will help you center this first stripe that goes on. Goes right up the middle, and I got mine a little bit off there. Better. Okay, then each stripe that goes next to it is going to be about 1/8 of an inch over. So about there. And about there. Okay, now we're going to put adhesive on the back of this portion of our column and go ahead and adhere this to our base. How are we doing on time? Okay. We only have 2 more portions to go. Okay, so that the next piece you need is 1 inch by 2 1/4. 1 inch by 2 1/4. We're going to cut this into 5 pieces. Okay, and each of those pieces, 2, 4, 6, 7/16, so slightly more than 3/8 of an inch. Now, to find slightly more than 3/8 of an inch, it's not going to be the half, it's right before the half. It's the mark right before the 1/2 inch. So if you can see this on my trimmer, here's the 1/2 inch mark. It's the beginning of the grid on the right hand side. That's the 1/2 inch mark. If you look just below that at the ruler line and go 1 tick mark to the left, that is how wide these pieces need to be. Okay, so 1 inch high and 7/16. No, what did we say? Yeah, 7/16 of an inch wide, or 1 mark shy of a 1/2 an inch. So I was doing a virtual event this past weekend with the CM sisters, and Martha Murray, who is a guru in paper piecing, did a project that was really fun. And I commented to her that I feel so much more brave about doing these kinds of projects after doing several of her classes, because she, if you're not familiar with Martha Murray, she has her own YouTube channel. It's called Martha's Masterpieces, and she makes some really cool things, but she is a master paper piecer where I am not, and I fully admit that. So yeah, just just know that I'm doing the best I can. And everything I know I learned from Martha. Because I don't think I did any of this before I started doing CM Sisters virtual events and learning from her. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 little foam squares on each of these. And then we're going to put them directly onto our column rather than having a separate piece. These will actually be adhered right onto our column. And we are almost done, so bear with me, okay? Those of you who are still watching. All right, so we're going to take this first one and we're going to place it right in the very middle. And this first one being in the right place is important. Okay, so we centered this piece, remember? So I'm going to just center this one right above it and make it straight. Really important. Okay, then I'm going to add 2 on either side, and they're going to be just right next to each other. Just a hair's breadth, as they say, in between. Not even measurable. This is how I envision the top portions of the castle towers to look like. How it kind of jets out a little bit from the rest of the tower. All right, one more and then we have our final piece to do. All right, so that's that section. And now we have a triangle that we're going to put at the top here. Okay, so this last piece measures 2 inches high and 2 1/4 inches wide. We're going to find the center, just like we have on the rest of them, by lining it up with a line down the center and making sure that we have equal amounts on either side. I'm just going to mark where the center is, and then we're going to use our trimmer and we're going to cut from that center point to this outside lower point, like so. So there's one side. Then we're going to turn it and cut with the center point down here at the bottom towards the outer point at the top. Okay, so this is our bottom edge, and that's going to go right on there. And this is going to be lifted up with some foam squares, so I'm just going to put 1 in each corner, 1 in each at each point, but not right at the point, just kind of a little bit in from each of those points. Okay, then this one is going to be added to the top, right at the top of those columns that we added just a minute ago. Okay, go ahead and stick it down. All right, now we need to cut that out. So we're going to lift up our base piece, grab our scissors, and we're going to cut right along the edge. Try not to leave any overhang, because we don't want any overhang. We just want the same shape where we were the same shape we cut from the shimmer paper. Okay, So just like that. Okay. Now, if you when you put this down on your layout, you're going to make a little flag. This flag is a 1/2 inch wide or 1/2 inch high, and in let's see, almost an inch wide. And I just made it by hand. I just cut in and then cut in again. And then I connected it using my gold tip dual tip pen, my gold dual tip pen, the skinny end of my gold dual tip pen, and just added a gem at the base right here to complete that column. All right, and we are done. That is column number 4. So you should have all, how many did we do? All 7 of our columns now. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm thinking that I might do some kind of a drawing or something for these 3 additional columns that we've made. I can't think of anything else that I would use them for. So if you think that you might like to participate in something like that and have these, then let me know in the comments, would you? So that, and I'll figure out a way that we can do a drawing, and I will send them to you. All right. Thanks so much for participating with me through this. And I hope that this has been inspirational. I hope that you got something out of it and you're able to duplicate some of these fun It's a Small World columns in your albums. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.